91.3 WVKR, independent radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. You're tuned into LocalMotion here, and we are live on air right now with Mr. Kurt Rosenwinkel. Kurt, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear, beautiful. We are, experiencing a little technical thing, but we're making it work and we're no problems, so thank you. I'd just like to do a brief introduction, if I may. And let listeners know, Kurt Rosenwinkel is a multi-instrumentalist, educator, composer, and producer who has gained international recognition for his artistry. His legacy as the preeminent jazz guitarist of his generation is an inspiration for many musicians. His collaborations include Eric Clapton, Q-Tip, Gary Burton, Brad Mehldau, Paul Motion, Joe Henderson, and that just names a few. In 1991, he won a Composer's Award from the National Endowment for the Arts. He formed his own independent music label, Heartcore Records, and he was scheduled to perform this Friday at the Falcon in Marlborough and Saturday at Carnegie Hall, but those dates have been postponed. And with that, a wholehearted welcome to LocalMotion, Mr. Kurt Rosenwinkel.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Good to be with you.
Yeah, good to be with you, too. I know you're calling us from Germany, a little time difference there, so appreciate you. So sad that we won't have you here in Marlborough in just a few days, but hopefully everything will get rescheduled at some point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, me too. I was really looking forward to it very much, so we'll look forward to it down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody just, I guess the name of the game right now is just to be smart and stay safe and hug your loved ones. So, yeah. So we just heard Hold On, which was from your 2017 album, Capey, and I'd love to talk about that in greater detail, but I always like to go back in time a little bit and start off with This Is Your Life, Kurt Rosenwinkel, and start saying that you're from the Philadelphia area. Many great musicians have come out of there. Tell us about your musical start back in Philly.
Yeah, sure. Well, I grew up in a musical household. My dad plays piano, and my mom plays piano as well. So I took to the piano when I was about 9 years old, and started writing songs, and been writing music ever since then. Leading bands since then as well. Always have had a band. And first we were just, playing concerts for the neighborhood and putting signs on the trees for our shows, posters for our shows, and charging $1 and starting at 8:05 because, cool concerts start a little late. So
right.
we would write that on the poster. Starts 8:05.
I love it. That's awesome. And your parents are musicians also. Your mom classical and your dad more jazz?
Yeah, my mother studies classical piano, and she's serious. She's still studying with a Russian concert pianist in Philadelphia, and they were never professional musicians, but always playing piano a lot. And my father is an improviser, and he reads music, but he kind of reads half of it and makes the other half up.
Nice.
And goes off on tangents, and it's really interesting, fascinating.
That must have been quite an influence for you to kind of follow that path a little bit.
Yeah, I grew up listening to my dad's music, and never really understood really what was going on until I started to learn about music and went up to Berklee College of Music and was learning about how people approach improvisation and jazz in particular. And then I would go home and realize that my dad was actually doing some very, very fascinating things with the songs. He would take a standard song and he would make up new sections to the song.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up listening to that and writing my own music. And in the Philly scene, when I was coming up, there was uh, most of my friends were either in a band or played an instrument. So there was lots of music going on with all my friends. And then I started to get into the 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 jam session scene in Philly, which was really deep uh, music experience with a lot of really great older cats. And also I went to high school with a number of really amazing young musicians like Joey
Yeah.
DeFrancesco and Christian McBride and Questlove.
Questlove. Oh my God, that's a great
Yeah,
high school. And that was
yeah,
the Philadelphia School for Performing and Creative Arts.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
right, Kappa.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Kappa. Ah, nice.
Hmm.
Nice. Now,
Yeah.
when you started piano lessons at age 9, did you learn from your parents or did they actually send you out for lessons?
Yeah, they sent me out for
Yeah.
lessons.
Yeah.
I had teachers. Yeah.
And did you what did you start learning? Was it classical piano or did you learn what did you start with?
Yeah,
Hmm.
it was the basic kids lessons. Um, very basic sort of Suzuki
Uh-huh.
kind of lessons, and a dozen a day, and just pretty standard fare. I didn't get real deep into studying with the teachers. I was more doing the lessons that they would give me, practicing stuff, and I was mostly just making up songs and you know doing that when I was playing
Right.
piano.
Right. And then the guitar came into your life at age 12?
Yeah, I was really into heavy rock like AC/DC and Ozzy Osbourne and Def Leppard and the Kinks and the Beatles, and I picked up the guitar and started playing guitar as well, and had some bands, writing songs, and kept both instruments going all through my high school years. And then when I uh, when I was a junior in high school, I decided to take some jazz piano lessons. Um, and so I studied a year with a great pianist named Jimmy Amity in Philadelphia,
Mm-hmm.
and he gave me a great foundation for jazz harmony on the piano, and that helped me a lot. But I decided to be a guitarist because I was better at the guitar at that point.
Then you were at the
So
piano.
I figured I would just than I was at the piano.
And
So I decided to
and getting
be a
into
guitarist.
jazz, when I was doing my homework, learning more about you, it was John Schofield. You started hearing him out there. You heard Pat Metheny, and is that what got you into the jazz genre?
Yeah, I was coming from rock, and then that led to progressive rock like Rush and Genesis
Oh
and
God, good
and
stuff.
Yes,
Hmm.
and yeah, great music. And then I heard Spyro Gyra on the radio. I remember when I came home from school one day, and it was on the radio, and I was really amazed because that's really the first time I heard uh, improvisational soloing, um, uh, whereas progressive rock was more set
Hmm.
pieces. They would, the solos were kind of set, but this was the first time I heard real like group improvisation.
Right.
So I fell in love with that, and from there I got turned on to Pat Metheny and John Schofield, Bill Frisell, Kevin Eubanks, and so I just kind of took like a top down trajectory from rock into jazz, and then from electric jazz to acoustic jazz and traditional jazz and post bop and then bebop, and yeah,
Very
that's how
cool.
my trajectory was.
And then you went from Philadelphia to Boston to Berkeley.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
I followed my friends, my older friends in Philly, who were serious musicians, they went up to Berkeley, and so I went up there after them, sort of followed in their footsteps, and that was a great time. Met so many amazing people who, went on to do great things, and who I still keep in touch with. So many people, so many amazing people at Berkeley at that time.
Right.
Roy Hargrove and Scott Kinsey and Jeff Keezer, Seamus Blake, Mark Turner, Joshua Redman.
You were in good company.
People.
You were in good company. Wow. Yeah. Joshua Redman was just at the Falcon a few months back, and with Christian McBride. It was unbelievable. Yeah. Great stuff.
Oh, yeah. Right. With Mood Swings.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. That was good. That was good. And Berkeley, and you left there because the dean of the school asked you to tour with him. Is that, yeah?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. That's right. I met Gary Burton, and Wolfgang Muspiel was leaving the band, and he recommended me. Went to Gary's office, and we played, and he hired me in the band, and we started touring internationally, and I also, at the same time, got a call from LocalMotion, and he hired me to be in his band, so I was in Gary and Paul's bands at the same time, and I dropped out of school and moved down to New York, and that was my transition to New York.
Wow. Yeah, great stuff. And that band was what, Human Feel? That was LocalMotion's band? Human Feel?
No, Paul's band was the Electric Bebop Band.
Oh.
And,
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I was playing with Human Feel when Bill Frisell heard us, and he recommended me to Paul when Paul was putting his band together.
Got it.
So I was actually playing with Human Feel when Bill heard us and recommended me to Paul, and then Paul put together the Electric Bebop Band with Stomu Takeshi and Brad Shepik and Josh Redman.
Wow.
And Chris Potter. And we started touring, and I was in Paul's band for 10 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, tell me about composing. You started that at an early age. Is that easily comes to you? Do you sit down every day and have a set time, or how does that process work for you?
It's very natural. It's very easy. It's because, for one thing, I just love music, so it feels easy or natural. For a long time, I felt like I was not practicing because I would just be improvising and going on adventures, musical adventures. So I felt like I didn't have very much discipline, but actually it was the opposite. In the end, it ended up that I had covered all the bases that other people do with a more regimented approach. But I would just play for hours on end, discovering things, making my own connections, writing songs, and when I pick up the instrument, I'll put my fingers down, and I never know what's going to happen. Sometimes I'll end up doing exercises and investigating harmony, and then one thing will lead to the next, and then I may end up writing a song out of that. Songs come out in a few different ways for me. Sometimes it's stumbling upon some kind of progression or motif or some kind of structure that I discover, and then I feel like sort of like an archaeologist, where they're sort of digging through the dirt, and then they find the top of a pyramid, and then they just keep wiping away brushing away the stuff that's not the pyramid, and then they end up with a pyramid. That's how I feel like what I'm doing is sort of brushing away the stuff that's not what I've discovered, and then that reveals a song that seemed to have been already there. Another way that songs happen for me is maybe I'll be in a certain mood, maybe a deep kind of mood with the instrument, and then a song will come from that mood. So that it really comes from inside, comes from an emotional place, or from a place of spiritual mood, or so that's more of a personal sort of expression. Whereas the first way is like you feel like you discover something that's external, or that's already there. And then other ways that songs come out is maybe I'll find something and then I'll start to elaborate with it, and to try to look at it from a lot of different perspectives, and then put it through a lot of different processes. And so that's more like an arts and crafts kind of very craft oriented process, where I'm taking something that I've discovered and putting it through a lot of different processes, like a visual artist would. You take a painting, and then you take an imprint of the painting, and then you put it through some lathes, and you just apply all these different processes to it to transform it into something that it ultimately ends up being a composition. So those three kind of ways, discovery, expression, and craft.
Wow, beautiful. Now you teach as well, or are you still teaching?
I retired teaching.
But you did. You did.
I was teaching for 14 years. I was, for 10 years I was a professor at the Berlin Jazz Institute.
Yeah.
And for 4 years before that, I was teaching in Switzerland, where I was living. So teaching has always been a big part of my life, and I've always done workshops and private lessons and stuff like that. But in 2016, I decided to reorganize the foundations of my life, and I quit the school, and I felt like I wanted to reinvest my full energy into creating music, rather than talking about it.
Yeah.
So that's when I started Hardcore Records.
I love that, because that was one of the names of your releases. You released an album in 2003 called Hardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it would be a fitting name. I thought it was a good name.
Yeah. With your name, you sound. I know you're in Germany, and that's where you live now. Do you speak the language also?
Very badly, I'm ashamed to say. Yeah, meine Deutsch ist sehr schlecht.
Sehr schlecht. Oh, das muss man mehr üben, aber das kommt wohl. Wenn du da wohnst, das einfach kommt so. So, yes, that it just happens. I mean, right? When you live there and you talk more and more, you just learn. And even if you can't enunciate or speak well, you wind up just understanding. So it all comes, with time.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah.
I've lived in German-speaking countries for 14 years, and I do understand a lot of German, but I found it difficult to generate the words the vocabulary. But I do understand when I hear. So I'm pretty functional. I am functional, but not to the degree that I am with other languages that I'm kind of fluent in.
Such as?
Italian and
Ah.
and Spanish.
Wow. Okay.
I'm pretty fluent in both of those.
Mhm.
Uh, although only one of them um, occupies the space in my mind at any one time, they can't both be active.
Yes.
It's either one or the other,
Yeah.
depending on where I'm at, you know. But if I go to Spain, if I'm there for a few days, and then it all comes back, and then I've got it on lock. But Italian, I'm much more um, present with as a language, so I'm pretty fluent in there. And I've never lived in any of those places, so it's kind of strange.
I think the German's
I
going to
don't know.
wear off on you now because you actually live there, Court. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about, I really loved the fact of hardcore. Talk about your label. You started a label, an independent label. I want to let listeners know again that we're talking with Kurt Rosenwinkel online. He's calling from Germany. And hardcore-records.com is the website. You've got some great artists on there already, which, by the way, I just want to say, Elu, I saw him at the Newport Jazz Festival this year. It was blown away by him. What a great artist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have Elu on the label. He's a good friend and a great artist. And we did a really cool project of solo piano, playing songs of mine that he wanted to do. And that was a really exciting thing. The hardcore, we've got other great artists on hardcore. Pedro Martins is recording for us, and he put out his record Vox last year.
Which you
I
produced.
think it was last year, right? Which I produced.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful album, and he's a very gifted, significant artist in the musical landscape. He's young, so he's just starting out and gaining an audience, but his music is already very mature and fully formed, and he's a brilliant
When you say
composer
young,
and
what is young?
guitarist.
When you say young.
Well, I think he's when I met him, he was I guess he was about 21, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
I guess he's 20. I've lost track.
Right.
But,
Early 20s. We'll leave it
I
at
think he's
yeah.
I think he's 25. I think he's 25 or 26 now. Forgive me for not knowing. You know, people seem to stay in my mind at the age that I met them.
Yes,
you know,
I have that issue
kind of
too.
shocking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that people do get older, but yeah, he's a brilliant young musician, and so we worked together on his album, and he's also in my Kaipi band that we were going to play at the Falcon with, and doing this tour.
And Carnegie Hall as well. I love it.
And Carnegie Hall.
Yes.
Yeah.
Friday the Falcon,
Yeah.
Saturday Carnegie Hall. Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. Heartbreaking. Now, Kaipi, what a cool album. I've listened to an extraordinary amount of music just preparing to talk with you. This is the first album that was released on your label, Hardcore. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
cool. And it's the first album where your vocals are there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the first album that I'm singing overtly with lyrics. You know, on most of my other albums, the voice is there as part of the subliminal element of my guitar sound. So I've always been singing, but it's always been a kind of a subliminal thing. And this is the first album that I sing like a regular singer. And it won't be the last. There's another album in the works that I've also been working on for a long time, which is kind of more in the sort of rock vein, for lack of a better term. It's just my songs, my music, but they're also lyric songs.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
And also, when I started out, I was always writing songs that I was singing as well. Got into jazz and got into instrumental music, And so most of the albums that I've made have been instrumental music, but all all through the whole time I've been writing songs with lyrics as well that have just sort of stayed in my own private sphere. Um, so you know, Kaipi was in a way of kind of turning the inside out in a way
Right.
of my musical life. Uh, yeah.
Exciting. And yeah, you're venturing into a new world with putting it out to the public. Speaking of which, you've got a new release, a single that's already out, and a new album coming out in May. Correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a trio album. It's uh, it's uh, it's it's a trio album of sort of standards, and it's kind of a follow up to my album called Reflections, which was another trio standards album. And I'm really excited about it. It came out great, and um, we recorded it in my studio here in Berlin, and I'm really excited about the music. Greg Hutchison is playing drums, and Dario Deida is playing bass, and I'm really excited also for people to get the chance to hear Dario because he is one of the most brilliant musicians and improvisers I've ever met.
Wow.
And
Where
a
did
lot
you
of
meet?
people don't know about him.
Where did you meet?
We actually met. We met in Italy when I was 19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Because I used to go to Italy like every year and tour with Italian musicians. That's how I learned Italian.
Ah, okay, that
Riding
makes
in a
sense.
car with
Mm-hmm.
with three other dudes who didn't speak English and just driving from Sicily to Venice and back again. Just figuring it out.
I love it. Sounds like a lot of fun, by the way.
It was wonderful. Italy is my second home. We say that I'm half Italian.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that country.
For that.
I think I could live there if
Yeah.
I had to without any problems. Love Italy.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. Yep.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Such great vibe there. So this single that's coming out after you and I are done talking, it's one of the tracks I'm going to play, which of course,
Oh, great.
Ugly Beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugly Beauty
Yeah.
by Thelonious Monk.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
the album is called Angels Around, and that's a song of Dario's that I named the album.
Tell me again
after.
his
I actually named the song too.
Oh, you did. Tell me his last name again. I'd like to look him up and keep a track of him and see.
Yes. His last name is Deidda.
Okay.
Deida.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he's from Salerno,
Mm-hmm.
near the Naples area, and I've known him since, like I said, I was 19 years old, and yeah, people who are in the know, they know about him, the bass players, because he's put out some things that are just really mind-blowing, but in general, he has had a pretty low profile, pretty much, just staying in Italy, and but for a number of years, he's been playing in my bands, and I've brought him to New York. And when I brought him to New York to play the Vanguard, he was just the talk of the town.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really, really cool to see him get that exposure. And he's a beautiful player.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I'm definitely going to check him out, on no doubt, and take a listen to some of his stuff, which is part of the thing. Like you, right? You kind of got found in New York, right? You had a weekly Tuesday night gig at Smalls, and that's how it all kind of started. I mean, I know it started at Berkeley, and then you did the tour, but then Smalls. I mean, these little New York City clubs went a long way too. Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's nice. Well, the other thing I want to say, Eric Clapton, who made a guest appearance on KP, great story, everything that I heard about it. Tell us about your relationship with Eric Clapton, if you would.
Sure. Well, we met, he came down to the Vanguard, I think it was 2011, and we just kind of clicked and hit it off and became friends, and kept in contact and shared music together. And he uh, um, saw he heard Kaipi when it was in that stage of development. So he kind of saw me working on Kaipi every step of the way, and I had sent stuff to him, and he really liked the music. And when I started the label and was going to put Kaipi out, he helped me to do that in some ways, and with the business and stuff. And so he was a supporter of that music, and he asked me also to perform at Madison Square Gardens with him at his Crossroads Festival in 2013.
Now that must have been a fun invitation.
Yeah, that was an amazing phone call to get, and that was just super exciting. And so I invited Alan Holdsworth to play with my band, and then so I played with my band, and Alan Holdsworth played a song with us, and then Eric played 2 songs with us at Madison Square Garden, and it was just epic. It was all, it was one of the most amazing moments of my life.
I have no doubt.
And it was incredible to be on the rotating stage on the dark side of the moon of the stage while the other band was performing, and then having the rotating stage rotate while you're on it out to the main stage, and then you see 20,000 people out there.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Oh, what a great memory. Is there footage of that? Yeah.
There is. Mm-hmm. There is. I took footage of it, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I have a little video of it. Maybe I'll try to dig it up and put it online.
Yeah, that would be fun. I think we need to keep music we need to keep music going right now, and I think the more that you guys as musicians throw out there, you're going to help us all get through this.
Yeah, that's an important point. I agree with you totally. We have in that regard, Hardcore Records is releasing today a new song in our series that we do every year called Hardcore for the World, which is a beneficial a series that we do where every year my label manager, Michaela, she travels to a different country every year and works with underprivileged children, like in an orphanage, for example, and the first one was Hardcore for Africa, and the second one was Hardcore for India, and this one is Hardcore for Ukraine.
Beautiful.
And what she does, she goes there and she works with the kids, and she records the kids with some melody or something that we come up with or find or is associated with that place, and then she brings it back, and then here at Hardcore HQ we produce the song. We get guest artists from around the world to be on the song, and then we produce it and we put it up for sale, and then all the proceeds we get for that we take and we give to the kids, and so that they can buy musical instruments, and we just help out like that. So
thank you.
This year's installment is ready, and it's should be being released pretty much as we speak, and it's so if you can look out for that, go to Hardcore Records or just type it in, and you'll probably see something pop up about Hardcore for Ukraine, and it's a really cool song featuring Louis Cole and Pedro Martins and Michael League from Snarky Puppy and some other great artists. And so
wonderful.
That's going out today.
Awesome. You've got lots of great music coming out. You just had a release back in October, too. So it's nonstop, which is a beautiful thing. I just want to also say you do have some ties here to the Hudson Valley, I think. Yes? like you with Larry.
I know a lot of people out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Larry Grenadier and
Rebecca
Martin.
Right, Brad Maldow.
Yeah, they're old and close friends of mine. Brad's out there, and then Schofield's out there.
Yeah. John Medeski, MMW, two of the three are here anyway. Yeah, we've got a hotbed of great music here. You also recorded one of your albums here in the Hudson Valley.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I did.
Yeah.
That's right.
Too much music.
That's right, at the clubhouse. That's an amazing studio. I recorded one of my albums, and The Star of Jupiter was recorded there. I recorded two other really great albums there, one of which is Rebecca Martin's album, The Growing Season, and another great album of Brian Blades called Season of Changes.
He's phenomenal.
All at that studio out there called the Clubhouse, which is wonderful.
Yes.
Place.
Yeah. Lots of great people have come through there, you being one of them. Also, I guess you know Scott Petito from NRS Recording Studio. He does lots of jazz and has worked with Medeski as well as Schofield and all those people. So everyone from the Hudson Valley that is into jazz is saying hello, and we really look forward to that show being rescheduled at the Falcon, really, hopefully,
awesome.
Very, very soon. I have one final question, and is there anyone out there who you'd like to perform with that you haven't yet? That you know of, anyway. I know there's more people who come into your world, but right now that you just would love to perform with.
Oh, wow. Geez. I really wanted to work with David Bowie because he's one of my heroes, but I didn't get the chance. But some of my colleagues did, and they made an amazing album. So that was kind of like a vicarious thing for me. There's so many great musicians. I love. Let me see. Gary Thomas is a saxophonist that I've really admired for a long time that I would like to work with. Gary Thomas. I think he's brilliant, and would like to work with him. Let's see. Yeah, so much is going on. There's a lot of people who are making some really great music at the moment. Especially a lot of guys out of LA. I got the opportunity to play with Lewis Cole recently, and that was really fulfilling. Because I feel he's a kindred spirit. I really think he's a great artist, great songwriter, and so I got the opportunity to play with him. I think we were going to do more actually on our Kaipi tour that was postponed. We were going to be in LA and going to record with Lewis. So I look forward to doing more with him.
Yeah, exciting.
And actually, and Michael League and I were talking about doing something with Snarky Puppy. I would really like to do that and look forward to that happening someday, hopefully.
Yeah, that's cool. And you also had a tour opening up for Eric Clapton planned in a couple of months as well.
Yes. We hope that goes forward. That's in the second half of June.
Yeah.
My Kaipi band hopefully will be opening up for 5 concerts of Clapton's.
Right.
So we hope that happens.
Right. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. I consider nothing to be canceled, but just postponed. Then that's if we all think like that, So
I concur.
Yeah, absolutely. Kurt, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you. Thank you for your time. And really, please throw music out there, whether it's online, and keep us all sane during these insane times. And it means an awful lot. And ich wünsche dir alles Gute. und alles Liebe und mehr Musik, bitte. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Rita, and I send all my love out to everybody there in the upstate area, and
Thank you.
I hope to see you guys soon, and I'll be, putting more music out there.
Yes.
As I think we all will.
Yeah, good.
So thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you so much, and be safe until we see you. Auf Wiedersehen, bis nächste Mal.
Cheers. Bis nächste Mal.
Tschüss.
Ciao, ciao. Ciao, tschüss.
I love it. That was fun. That was Kurt Rosenwinkel, renowned jazz musician, calling from Berlin, Germany. So much fun talking with him. And I'm going to just pull up some music of his. So bear with me here because we're working on this, and we're going to get this with some new music of his that was just released. It's a new single that's coming out, and I'm just pulling it up, so bear with me. But KurtRosenwinkel.com is where you check out more about him. What a career he's having, and he's just a phenomenal guitarist. The more work that I did about him, the more into it I got, because his music is just crazy. So this is a new release, and bear with me here. We're going to get it. Yeah. Here we go. It's called Ugly Beauty, and this one's a release now. The single came out in the beginning of March, and the full album will be out in May. So let's take a listen to new music by Kurt Rosenwinkel Trio, and this is titled Ugly Beauty, right here on 91.3 WVKR, Independent Radio Poughkeepsie. 91.3 WVKR, Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. Brand new single just released March 6th by the Kurt Rosenwinkel Trio titled Ugly Beauty. The full release comes out in May, called Angels Around. KurtRosenwinkel.com, his record label, which he started, hardcore-records.com. And I'm so into this. I hope you guys are too. I want to play one more by Kurt. This was a release that came out this past fall. Let's take a listen to more Kurt Rosenwinkel here on 91.3 WVKR, Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. 91.3 WVKR, Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York, 5:03 p.m. on Wednesday evening. That was Kurt Rosenwinkel with Bandit 65, the track called Bloomer, Philadelphia, which of course is where Kurt is from. Thank you to Kurt Rosenwinkel for an in-depth and enlightening interview this past hour. Truly an honor to speak from him. He called in from Germany, was supposed to perform at the Falcon in Marlborough this Friday, and on Saturday at Carnegie Hall, and a string of dates after that. Of course, everything is postponed. I say nothing is canceled. It's just postponed. Stay safe out there. If you're just tuning in, thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Rita Ryan, here with LocalMotion each and every Wednesday from 4 to 6 p.m. If you missed part or all of the interview with Kurt Rosenwinkel, I'll be uploading it later on my LocalMotion Facebook page as well as on a Mixcloud. Great music from him. Check him out, kurtrosenwinkel.com. Like him on social media. Follow all the incredibly enlightening music that he comes out with. And so we're going to keep the music flowing right now. Lots of great music out there from the Hudson Valley. Let's start this one off. The brand new CD I just received about 10 days ago. Dog Knows. Let's take a listen right here, right now. 91.3 WVKR, Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie.
He can hear it in a mountain stream. She can see it in her deepest dream. He can feel it on a sunny day. She wonders why she feels this way. It is written. It is written. It is written. It is written. He can feel it in the softest wind. She knows her loneliness will end. He can hear it in a summer storm. She knows it's gonna keep them warm. It is written. It is written. It is written. It is written. Lucky sign. He whispers to the silent moon. She senses he'll be coming soon. It is written. It is written. It is written. It is written. The coyotes cry at night. There are shapes in the fire's light, and they'll know that the time is right when the mist meets the morning light. It is written. It is written. It is written. It is written.
Hey folks, Cindy Cashdollar here, and you're lucky enough to be listening to Rita Ryan, the one and only Rita Ryan, on LocalMotion on 91.3 WVKR Independent Radio in Poughkeepsie, New York.
.3 WVKR Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. Always a pleasure talking with Bob from Port Ewan, who calls in pretty regularly, so it's always good to hear from him. Thanks for calling in. That was beautiful new music by Cindy Cashdollar, her new release, Waltz for Abilene. That was the title track, done beautifully alongside Larry Campbell. Larry Campbell on fiddle and mandolin, John Chipman on drums, Bruce Hughes on bass, Scrappy Judd Newcomb on guitar, Abby Newton on cello, and recorded in a couple of different places, including Sugar Mountain Studios in Palinville, as well as in Texas. Beautiful, beautiful track. Brand new release by the lovely and talented Ms. Cindy Cashdollar. Check out cindycashdollar.com. And this new release, can't recommend it enough. Waltz for Abilene. She was a guest here on the show a few weeks back. Always a pleasure. Then we started off the hour with Dog Nose. Catskill Dogs is the title of the release. And we heard It Is Written. Dog Nose with Alan Groth on bass guitar, Kurt Henry guitar vocals, Cheryl Lambert on vocals, percussion, and harmonica, and Eric Parker on drums and percussion, along with many wonderful guest artists as well. You can learn more about this at kurthenry.com. He will also be a guest on my show, I think sometime in May. So let's keep the music going here because I think it's what we need to do. Brand new music also released very recently by Chris Berkson and Ellis Hooks, live in Normandy. Let's take a listen to this right here, right now, on 91.3 WVKR, Independent Radio Poughkeepsie.
Maintenant, je suis très heureux à présenter mon bon ami, le grand don du soul, le grand chanteur de soul. Please, s'il vous plaît, faire du bruit pour Monsieur Ellis Hooks. Bonsoir. Rocky, nice. Yeah. Good to see everybody. Help me. Help. Come on. Rock. I got trouble in my life, and there since the day I was born. I got trouble in my life, and there since the day I was born. I was alone with no silver spoon. I rock from knuckles and woe. Yeah, listen, I got stretched hair in my soul. Pain won't leave me alone. Oh, I got stress in my soul. The pain won't leave me alone. Girlfriend gave her my head. Wanna admit that she wrong, yeah. Many times I gave her my heart. She took it and she just ran away. Many times, gave her my heart. She took it and she just ran away. I'm a sad case of a man. Oh, I'm standing out of place, yeah. Oh, come on now. Rock. I can't let go. Oh, I can't let go. Oh, Mobile. Help me. Rock. Listen, I'm gonna get this on. Broke into my place last night. The girl messing with my head, y'all. Baby, there's something ain't right. I got trouble in my life, yeah. Been there since the day I was born. I got trouble in my life, yeah. Been there since the day I was born. I was born, but no, she was born with knuckles and bones. I got trouble in my life, yeah. Been there since the day I was born. I got trouble, my life, yeah. Been there since the day I was born. Girl, take a game of my head. Won't miss she roll. No. Girl, take a game of my head. Won't miss she roll. Goodness. Girl, take a game of my head. Wanna miss that she roll. I will try. Bonsoir. Thank you.
Hi, this is Tony Falco from the Falcon. I'm a big supporter of music in the Hudson Valley. Our mission is support living artists, and we have a lot of local music that goes on at the Falcon. And you're listening to Rita Ryan and her program Local Motion on 91.3 WVKR, independent radio, Poughkeepsie, New York.
Heaven knows I've been forgetful. Lately my mind can't get no rest. And if it seems I've been neglectful, I'm just tired and I ain't been at my best. I know you've been missing my affection. It's making you think I wanna move on. You're worried I'm looking in a new direction. But this is what you'll see before I'm gone. Baby, the sun won't rise, the moon won't appear, and the stars will fall when I stop loving you. When I stop loving you, somebody will close my eyes, and I'm gonna hear the angels call when I stop loving you. And my heart will be no more. You know I work hard just to make a living. The hours and days go by so fast. Precious time I know I should be giving to the one thing I always knew would last. Baby, the sun won't rise, the moon won't appear, and the stars will fall when I stop loving you. When I stop loving you, somebody will close my eyes, and I'm gonna hear the